It's time for comics and cocktails with Cliff. Tonight, I'm having the Gamma Bomb. And tonight's guest, Dan De La Torre, all the way from across the states. We're doing multiple time zones. Stay tuned for a moment. Dan, thank you for being here.
Cliff, thank you for having me. What a great pleasure to be here.
I'm very excited to have you. From the many times that I've seen you in Black Crown's chats or showing up on Only Slabs, I've just been like, I love this guy.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're going to be among my comic book legends.
That's an honor. And yeah, you're going to see how old I actually am when we start talking about comics.
And we're going to see how much I want to challenge that collection. Oh my God. So how many years have you been collecting?
Well, I got the first book I ever bought. I still have it here. It was Incredible Hulk 197. Ooh. And it's beaten to hell, the poor thing, but it survived my childhood. But I still have it. This is the very, very first book I got off a 7-Eleven rack in Oakland, California. And it was in 1976. This is a Bernie Wrightson cover. And I knew even right away, because I never bought comics, but this was a very unique cover for Marvel. Marvel had different artists and so forth. And Bernie Wrightson, of course, had created the Swamp Thing. This is a rare crossover for him to come over to Marvel and draw this. As the Watchers in the back. No, not the Watcher. That's the Collector, Hulk, and of course, this first meeting with Man-Thing. This has become a very pricey book. I've since upgraded. I've got a couple of really nicer copies right here, and I probably will get these slab, but that was my very first comic back in '76, and I was enamored with them because when I was growing up as a kid, comics were 25 cents back then. So if you had $5, you were living large back then. So yeah. But to answer your question, whatever it is, almost 50 years. Almost 50 years.
So I'm just like 11 years behind you.
You look great though, but you look great.
Thank you. Not having kids is amazing.
Well, it does wear on you.
Yeah. So I was like, so it's keeping me young. Maybe I was gonna say I'll probably try to find like a nice 7.0 of that book. And just
it was a good story. I grew up with the Hulk stories, and it was who was it? Len Wein was writing at the time. It was Sal Buscema. And I believe that's how his name is pronounced. It's not Buscema. I believe it's Sal Buscema. He did the artwork, so I grew to love that artwork, and the Hulk was my favorite. I could relate to him because I was always picked on as a kid, so the Hulk was easily relatable.
That's how I found Superman relatable as a kid, because the whole Clark Kent thing. John, good evening.
Hey, John.
And Christina Payne, because she is a champion. Thank you for being here. We have 4 watchers. Yay! We did it.
It'll grow.
It always happens.
And we started early. That's my fault, too.
That's okay.
Yeah. So.
Listen, more the merrier.
That looks like a great drink. It just does.
So yeah, I told you Hypnotic, I had to look up what Hypnotic actually was because I literally just grabbed it from the shelf and ran. So Hypnotic is a blue colored liqueur known for its unique blend of premium vodka, tropical fruit flavors, and a touch of cognac. Then I added white grape juice.
Oh,
and it's
perfect.
a Gamma Bomb. There we go, everybody. I call it the Gamma Bomb. I'm not even sure if I'm really enjoying it. I'm just committed. I'm committed to the bit.
It looks great. It looks fantastic. I will give it a try at one of these days.
So that's good stuff. So you started as a Marvel person. It's funny. You started as a Marvel person and you went for the Hulk because you were picked on. I started as a DC person and I went after Superman because I would be picked on.
Well, the thing with I had nothing against DC. I grew up with Superman and Batman and all the Super Friends, that kind of thing as a kid, because that was on in the early 70s. And I have nothing against them. In fact, when I was a kid, the Flash, the Red Flash, was my favorite for a while. And had I known, had my wits to me, I would have grabbed Showcase 4 just because. But now that's way out of my price range, like everybody else. But then Marvel sort of grabbed my attention regarding the comics. It was and that's what you want to do. You see these colorful images and so forth on the spinner rack, which what they used to have in the day. And I just went to Marvel. I don't know why. I never really went back.
Freaky, love you, welcome. The Fantastic Four watching us. There we go. Oh, Dan's out there too. Thanks, Dan. Oh, I'm trying to remember what are my other basic, like I try to do non-basic like comic book questions about like how you started, what was like your inspiration, oh, there we go. That's a good one. Like what made you want to collect, you know, where you were like, oh, I got to have all these issues. I got to keep them in order.
Well, what happened to me was as I started buying them, and they're so colorful, and I bought the Fantastic Four 168 and several others, and I didn't want to throw them away. I kept reading them and looking at the images, and so it started to pile up. And before you know it, the pile's too high and it's falling over because I didn't have boards or boxes, whatever else. That's why this thing's so beat to death. And before you know it, it's a thing, and I'm going every week to check out what's the latest issues and so forth. And for the longest time, that was my life. That was my my source to the outside world by these writers and these artists and so forth. I never. My father, by the way, hated it. He hated comic books. He thought my father was old school, an old Spanish, Hispanic man who couldn't read. Imagine that. I grew up with a father who could not read. He couldn't comprehend what was going on, but he thought, because he grew up in West Oakland, and even to this day, even back when he was a kid, West Oakland was a rough neighborhood. He was when he had kids, he realized, oh my God, I sort of have to straighten out, and I've got to keep them from these horrors, these bad influences that the world was surrounded with. And so he kept everything against us. We limited television, except for the news and Star Trek. That's the only thing he allowed us to watch.
At least Star Trek made the list.
Star Trek made the list. He said he had a message. So he was very, very much a deep thinker for a man who had no formal education. But he thought comics, just because of the images, were a bad influence. And it was a rare time, by the way, in Hispanic homes, you don't speak out against your father. But for whatever reason, I stood up. I said, no, there's nothing wrong with these, and I'm going to keep these. And we had a back and forth argument, which is rare for that time as a young man. But I stood my ground, and I kept them to this day.
Yeah, you're like, nope, I really have a passion for this. He clearly must have been like, wow, the kid's really standing up.
Yeah, that was a first. But it was comics had such an impact on me that I wasn't going to give it up.
Yeah, and it's so funny because in my household, it's just me who like comics, just me who had an interest in Super Friends, just me who watched any of those cartoons. That was that, right? And Black Spiders, JSS, welcome.
Hey, JSS, what's going on?
So my whole thing was, I was just really lucky that my mom wanted me to read. And then she was just really happy that all I was doing was reading comics.
Well, you've hit on something. You've hit on several things. This is a very personal thing to relate to you and everybody else, is that we grew up not poor, but sort of the working poor. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. But I had to have some interest. But I did start to read. It was the only thing I was reading, actually. And I give credit to comics that if I hadn't read as many as I did, I mean, I would go at the height of it, if you will. I'd go to that 7-Eleven and I'd walk out of there with $10 of comic books at 25 cents each. So I have this huge stack. And the guy behind the counter was thinking, oh, I'm embarrassed by charging this much money. I'm like, no, I went home and read each and every one of them. If I didn't read that much, I dare say I probably would have been semi-illiterate. And this also spills into another subject that, comics to this day don't get the credit and accolades that they should. You remember the J.K. Rowling Harry Potter series. Every time a new book comes out, the news steps over themselves to profile how a young person is opening a book and reading. Same thing with comics. There's a lot of reading, especially in the older comics. There was a lot of literature, as opposed to today. The comics are more focused on the imagery, less text, that sort of thing. But they've never gotten the credit they deserve. And again, I give them credit, and that's one of the many reasons why I've loved them and collect even to this day.
Yeah. And so, like, in my household, I mean, so there were some stretches where things were very thin, and my mom still paid for my comics because I was reading. And let me tell you, the things that woman did when we had no money. My brother liked very expensive clothes, and she would go down to outlets. She would go to shops in Paramus often. She would stand there and negotiate in a retail store. And it's like, there's no way you actually want $120 for this jacket. There's got to be an offer you can make it. And she would haggle. And she'd get my brother these expensive clothes, and she'd get them at almost 50% off. Because she's just like, look, I'm trying to clothe this kid, and I'm trying to get him to school. And like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if they admired her. I don't know if they felt bad. I don't know. But my mother would work on these people, and they would go, okay, we could give you a break. And that was it. And I never saw anything like that in my life for another 20 years. And then I was working at IBM, and we had a group of people come up from Brazil. And this one girl, Elena, I took them all to the Palisades Mall to go experience this gigantic mall. And then we all went to watch the movie 300, right? And of course, the villain is a big Brazilian star in the movie. So they were like, yeah. So we're walking the mall and doing the shops. And she is fighting for every dime in every shop. And she was winning. She was in the sneaker store. She goes, why are you offering? I could pay this price in my home country. This is ridiculous. And I was like, oh, no. She left with shoes at 50% off. She left with underwear at 60% off. I was like, you are a monster. I am embarrassed because I am your driver. And I am thrilled because I love watching this.
Yeah.
So
that's a gift. That's a rare gift. You got to have. She must have a spine of iron.
No. Listen, let me tell you, some of these Brazilians and some of these Brazilian women, they truly have a spine of iron. They are just like, nope, and no shame. It's like, oh, come on, you could do better than that. Oh, you can't do better than that. Okay, bye. And walk put it all back on the rack. Bye. And one guy stopped her from leaving the store and said, come back. I'll give you the discount.
My father kind of had, but not nowhere near that degree. But he was a negotiator. It was embarrassing though when they do that, because it's like you're standing there watching them haggle and all that. And I didn't have that in me. I just did. Your mother clearly did. My father did to a lesser degree. Yeah.
Well, again, Latinos, right?
Yeah.
That's true. We do the work. So. Yeah. Oh my God, that reminds me. I don't have a new graphic, but I want to do a shout out to my members this month. And shout out to Jay Margolis, who not only became a member, but paid for 20 memberships. And shout out to all the others: Ben Compton, Madam, Raging Slots, Dan Del Torre, hey, 23 Mach, Six Boy 73, Meatwad number 1, Commieverse, Michael Baker, I Have Comic Issues, Chav the Chicken Guru, Anna John, 9495, Taylor Winder, The Glimmercast, Three Good Nerds, Nick's Kicks and Comics, Billy Powermax, R-Trail27, Mr. Spock, The Watcher, Dr. Doom's Fan Club, Heroes for Hire Fan Club, Mama Bear Doll, Poke and Joe Comics Review, Cat Fan Comics Man, Dungeon Crawler Kevin, Gene Malo, Lisa Noble, John's Comics with Friends, Omnibo, Spidey Spider Tumblers, Matt Likes Comics, Big Lion Cat 646, Chris the Comic Vet, Couch and Slash with Sea Bizzle, Papa Wheelie, still only 35 cents, Old Wolf 65, The Council of Comics, Anachronic Comics, yay! Mad Spidey, DJ Lynx, and Dr. Von Hoot's Comics from the Spiral Dimension.
That's an impressive list.
It's an impressive list. It's a list of 44, and so I'm gonna celebrate that. I'm gonna put together a very cool package for members this month. So not only will they be celebrated, but also new members get an opportunity to get something very cool.
Well, let's because you said a couple of things that I want to follow up on, if you don't mind.
Of course,
Going with my background to sort of enlighten people, how old I am and what I did back in those days. When you and I were kids, I mean, I'm older than you are, but back in the day, if you're a nerd, you were outed and you were made fun of. And it was okay to make fun of you. And even the parents at school who were supposed to sort of protect you if you said, hey, this guy's picking on me, whatever, they were laughing along with the kids because that's just how it was, but that's just, but I was inspired by people like Stan Lee, like Gene Roddenberry, like Irwin Allen, and even the people at DC. I didn't know their names, but again, the Superman, Batman did. It wasn't Justice League; it was Super Friends back in those days. That was my childhood. When I was a kid, Adam West was Batman, and George Reeve was Superman because the reruns from the mid '50s were still very, very prominent. So I was old enough to remember before the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. I was alive and well and coherent enough to remember there was no Star Wars. Star Wars didn't exist when I was a kid. All you had was Star Trek. You had Lost in Space and whatever Irwin Allen. He had several titles, but that was his most famous here. And that's what I gravitated towards because it interested me. And so those men were inspiring, mostly Gene Roddenberry. And I always make the comparison of Gene Roddenberry and Stan Lee. They were alive and influencing roughly at the same time in the 60s. It was a very important time for science fiction. They were inspired. Well, they were inspired by that movie that still holds up to this day. What was it? The Forbidden Planet. That's I showed you backstage. This guy here, Robbie the Robot. I still have my dad wanted to put power in it. The batteries are dead, but the voice of the actor is still in this little robot here. You can get it on what is it, not eBay? What is it? Amazon. And this was another robot that I had. These are very important characters to me. The Lost in Space robot, also with the voice actor in the little machine here. Great toys. But that was my influence, and that was my upbringing. What was going on with Star Trek? Roddenberry was doing what Stan Lee did, operating on a budget, but actually changing the entire world because everyone knew who he was afterwards. He affected so many people, and that was a major influence in the science fiction world. Same with Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. They had fought the Seduction of the Innocent book back in the 50s. A man, Dr. Wortham, who had no business writing that book. He was way out of his league. This man, in my view, I don't mean to get to be on this tangent with him, but he was very much an egotist. His claim to fame was he was a psychologist at a famous murder mystery. It was a horrific murder. And people were fascinated by how he butchered these people. And that inspired, by the way, the horror genre of the comic books in the day. Publishers realized that people love horror and they love, graphic, horrific ways of people dying and the horror behind the whole thing. Well, that spawned the comic market. That spawned that horror. To this day. People are just they gravitate towards those EC books and all that. Well, he decided, well, he's going to take this on. He took the moral high ground, if you will, in quotes, and wanted to take on comic books, saying that they were a bad influence on people. Because back in the 50s, there was this rebellion from young people. And this is the post-World War II generation who didn't know what to do with it. They didn't recognize that. Back in those days, you spoke until spoken as a child. So Wortham,
nothing like the world of today.
That's right. Well, yeah, it's completely opposite. But what happened with that was that man almost destroyed the comic industry, and Stan Lee with it. And so back in nothing lasts forever, so that lasted a few years. And then Stan Lee has this talk with his wife Joan, and Joan says, "Look, if you're going to get out of the industry," because he was so fed up, he'd been beaten to death and almost bankrupt. She said, "You know what? Go out swinging. You throw out what you want, and if you go, you got nothing to lose at this point." And had she not had that conversation with him, you and I probably would have met. That was the biggest comic explosion with Fantastic Four 1 in 1961. And it led to other titles, almost month after month, year after year. The Stan Lee bullpen, they couldn't do anything wrong. They created the Hulk, the Avengers, Iron Man, Thor, hit after hit. They couldn't do anything wrong. And that little company turned around in a few short years and was beating DC, something at the time which was not impossible. DC was a powerhouse, but they had sort of scaled back because of that same book, The Seduction of the Innocent. So they had some sort of, they had sort of lesser stories, weaker stories, Superman, saving a cat out of a tree, that kind of thing. And that's
worse. Oh no, Lois is trying to usurp my identity again by stealing something from the Fortress of Solitude. And like, unbelievable.
But that was the flavor of the day, and they did it to survive. So
yeah.
Stan Lee broke the mold by going way more aggressive, way more not violent, but still there were more fights,
real world,
good old real fights than there were at DC, and the readers started to gravitate towards it. So they were exploding in sales, and that led to the explosion of the comic market. And Jim Shooter, who finally turned that ship around, we just lost him recently. When he took over as editor-in-chief, he realized that nobody had any business sense. He said, they were late on their publications all the time. You had something that was supposed to do out in August 1976. It didn't come out till the following year later. They were so far behind. But Marvel went up and down with its business and finally came out of it. And they're still this powerhouse today. They've dominated the comic world. DC is just now, thanks to James Gunn, just turning that around.
Well, listen, they have Batman and Joker to thank for all sorts of stuff. So,
right.
But
you and I remember the early 80s and late 70s when it used to be the Boy Scouts were still the bigger sellers. Superman on DC and Captain America on Marvel. And people respected those. In fact, Stan Lee and Kirby were doing the Captain America stories all the way up into the late 60s. But something's changed, and the reader wanted something more aggressive. They liked the grittiness of Batman. They liked the grittiness of Wolverine. They could relate to it. Society is sort of changing, and that's why Batman is prominent even to this day. And the same can be said for Wolverine.
Yeah, but also when I was a young kid, the two top sellers were X-Men and the New Teen Titans.
Yes.
So when I'm picking Superman off the rack, I'm not acknowledging. I acknowledge that they exist, but I'm not acknowledging that it's that other people are gravitating to it. I'm just gravitating towards Superman because that's what I like. And then I was watching the 5 o'clock news, and they're like, Man of Steel is coming with John Byrne. They did this whole thing. They talked to multiple comic shop owners on the news, and they were talking about John Byrne, and he's coming over from Marvel, and what can we expect, and blah, 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 blah. This whole thing. It was at least 10 minutes on the news. I was enthralled. Maybe it was 5 minutes, whatever. I was a kid. I was enthralled. I recorded it, and I replayed it. And I told my mom, I have to get this. So that was the beginning of my collecting journey with that. This is terrible. I do want to thank Boner Jams. Boner Jams, this one is for you. Come on. There we go.
Chris Evans, Human Torch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kenneth Byrne, welcome.
Hey, Kenneth, haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a while. Triple G, Phil Ailing. Thank you, everybody. So, did you pick up any comic this week? It doesn't even have to be a new comic.
No, but you asked me to profile the comic of the week, and this is a strong recommendation. In fact, I profiled this on the Comic Book Canon show.
Wait 1 second. Go for it.
Okay. Now, DC Universe is up and running, thanks to James Gunn. So that's all those titles are now finally unlocked. But now people are still talking about Fantastic Four. And I had profiled this on the other show. I'm on a number of shows, including the Comic Book Canon. And I profiled this one. And this is Fantastic Four number 20. And for obvious reasons. Dr. Doom with Franklin Richards. He's got him in this particular story. I'm not going to spoil it. Doom's mother soul is owned by Mephisto. Mephisto's just come into the MCU. Doom is now obviously into the MCU now. And of course, everything seems to be focused around Franklin Richards. So in this story here, he recognizes Richard's power and tries to use this to combat or deal with Mephisto to get his mother's soul back. I won't say any more. I won't spoil it, but this is a very inexpensive book. This is a pretty high. You get something like this for $5 or $10.
Yeah. I recall Doom regularly visiting Mephisto for a chance to reclaim his mother's soul.
Right.
Until he just got over it.
Well, it's an annual thing. I don't know the exact story behind it, but in this go around, he says, well, again, I won't say what happened or what transpired, but he has yet to succeed, and that also dovetails into the Secret Wars. So I remember reading the Secret Wars back in '84. That was Jim Shooter's greatest creation, and Mephisto was Doom, who has the power of the Beyonder, was ready to take on Mephisto. It never happened, if you remember the story. I'm not spoiling anything because that was 31 years ago when that came out. But that's a fascinating story. So what's fun for me, and probably the same for you, is all these comics we read as a kid are now being portrayed on the big screen. And so you need a talented team to do that. Disney found it with Kevin Feige and company. It's not easy to do. I mean, look how many failings DC did, with their lackluster movies. Now they finally they're on track with James Gunn, and I was a huge critic of Gunn until recently, until I saw that Superman movie, and I was a big Henry Cavill fan because I thought he was. You and I are Superman guys, so Cavill to this point was the best Superman. It's a very difficult role to play, but with David Cornsweet and that team, he won me over. And if James Gunn can win an old cynic like myself over, that means the DC universe is wide open, and so we have a lot to look forward to.
No, it is, and I hope he's the right guy all the way through. But this movie did impress me, and I'm sorry for people who didn't get to enjoy it as much as I did. My comic of the week is from this week, but of course it's from a personal favorite, talented, 4-time Eisner Award winner who I adore, and that's Phil Jimenez, and it's the Titans Annual 2025 featuring Donna Troy, story and art by Phil Jimenez. This book is a love letter to Donna Troy of Wonder Woman and Titans fame, and even if you're not reading the title, I just pick up this issue. This issue is that kind of one-of-a-kind issue. That's how I feel about it. So, highly recommend.
That's a great cover. Love that cover.
It's a great cover. The art straight through is great. He recovers her history, and I mean, this is someone who's covered her history before, right? And he does it again, and with style, and with the plot that she's going to meet her biological father, right? This has always been this background thing that her earthly father may be alive, right? And of course, her origin has changed so many times. It makes the whole thing questionable. So, but someone was like, hey, Donna, we found out Papa's alive. You can meet him. So that was really exciting. It was a really well done issue. People are absolutely in love with your robot. They're still talking about it. Hey, Infamous Chat. Welcome.
The old Lost in Space robot. Loved it. Again, I would have loved to have this as a child. I've got several of these things, but I love to surround myself with my childhood past. This is my little safe room here with all my comics. My wife and I moved recently to a smaller place, so everything's really condensed. I used to have my Captain America shield. Still got it right here. Haven't found a place for it yet. So this used to be my signature background. If I can do something without... What I screw up here? I did something wrong.
Not the shield.
I got the shield. I love the shield. It's really... it's a solid aluminum shield. I painted it. The problem with this is a guy named Smitty Tut. Look up Smitty Tut on Instagram, and he produces these things. He's really, really, really methodical regarding what he does here. The hardest part, if you buy one of these, this is aluminum and this is stainless steel. So you got to bend this properly. It's got an angle. It's concave or convex, whatever it is. Then you have to use a special metal glue to adhere it. So it's worth having. but I used to be hanging up behind me. But again, my comic place is too small now, so I'm still having to rearrange, and I'll figure it out one of these days. But let me set this down without causing any harm. I've already lost a light. So anyway,
it's listen, all cap shields are impressive. I still don't have one. And then you'll go through a comic show and you'll see one and somebody wants like $500-600, and then it's like, come on.
Well, he sells those at the time. This is about 10 years ago, but for about $500. But there was a tiny, tiny little flaw. He sent me a video. I'm like, no one's ever going to see that. So he knocked it off to half. I paid $250 for it. Can't beat it.
That's what I need. I need to find a flawed shield, and that's it. There I go. All right. I know you have your 5, but did you also bring one to Spotlight?
I did. I said in my own little channel that I wanted one last grail. My wife and we're getting older, so we're thinking about retirement more than anything else. And so I have a fabulous collection. I don't need any more. I'll still be buying, but nowhere near to this caliber. But I did find this, and I shout out to Comic Ozzy. He has a fabulous Whatnot show, and he kind of helped me out with this because I couldn't have got it without him. But and it was a really fair deal, and it's this one right here.
Ooh!
Yeah, first Daredevil, and with the Daredevil show that's on Netflix, not Netflix, it's on Disney Plus. This really got hit home with me, but this is the last grail that I'll have. This kind of completes my collection. It's in really pretty shape for a 2.5. Back cover is really nice, but to have the first appearance of this guy here really makes my collection.
That is fantastic. Good Lord.
Yeah.
Well, being very Oprah of me and trying not to be outdone. So I had 3 grails show up in the mail today, but I don't know which box is which. So I'm going to open this box and we're going to see what I ended up with.
All right. Let's see if I can restore my light. What did I do? Give me just a moment here.
Or a light.
Oh.
It's so funny because I'm trying to square up certain collections.
Yeah.
And certain things that I've wanted. So this year, with Superman coming out, I'm like, this is gonna be my year of Superman. I'm just gonna focus on Superman and the Legion of Superheroes. And of course, not thinking that DC would accidentally stir up extra interest in Crypto and Supergirl.
Yes.
So one of the keys that I bought this year was a real fight. And I had to get it from Hong Kong because it's the issue where Supergirl joins the Legion. So that was a huge acquisition for me this year. So then I still had my list from last year that was incomplete. I want to get my Legion stuff, which I told myself that will be my priority this year. And of course, if I find a nice deal on anything from last year, I will absolutely go for it. So I did find a great deal. Oh, this is a good one that I opened. It's a good one. So on not YouTube, what am I saying? On eBay, I found Dominator Collectibles. And I looked up the fair market value of this book. And I sent them an offer of $225, right? Because then that way with the shipping, I would still come in under fair market value. And it's a beautiful 6.5. It's an origin issue. Roy Thomas story. John Buscema. John Buscema and Frank Giacoia art, and it's Submariner.
Oh, nice, very nice. Damn it, that's on my list. I had one years ago, but I'll get that at some point. But I got to look for a good deal. That's a great deal for 6.5.
Well, I got to tell you, there's another 6.5 on eBay. I will send you the link because I'm pretty sure you can make a similar deal.
Maybe.
But
I'm still recovering from this. So this took a lot out of me. That took an awful lot out of me.
Obviously, that can take a lot out of you. But this this. And if you notice, there's the Tales to Astonish reprint behind me. Right? So very exciting and apparently the covers are identical except Namor himself is facing the opposite direction.
Oh, okay. They did a mirror image then. Okay.
Yes.
I never noticed that.
All the stuff in the background is the same. So I'm like, oh. So I'm going to put them on the wall together because they belong together.
Absolutely. That's fantastic.
Yes,
congratulations. And I'm a huge Defenders fan too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Do you see
the original Defenders?
You see those Defenders there? On the bottom?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's Submariner 3435.
Yes, and and the first Defenders appearance.
Marvel Feature 1, nice.
And of course, part of the Defenders Avengers War here.
Yes, absolutely. That was Steve Englehart. He and Roy Thomas are one of my favorite writers aside from Stan Lee.
I love them, and Roy Thomas is so interesting to talk to. Him and Jerry Ordway.
Have you interviewed him, or has he been on your show?
No, I've just met them, and but I'm going to invite them on the show because I really adore them.
I would love to talk to Roy Thomas. And he's up there in age, but he's still one of the most interesting people there.
And I remember the first time I met them, it was at Wizard World Philly, and it's a long time ago. And they're talking about the Fantastic Four, and I'm defending the Fantastic Four movie to them, And I'm like, oh, I know the movie's not perfect, but like Ben Grimm is so full of heart and hero, and like that's like one of the most important things about the family connection of those characters. And I was just like gushing over like how impressed I was with what's his name, Michael Chiklis's portrayal. Boston Chris, I showed up because Dan asked me to. Good for you, Boston. Good for you. Three good nerds.
Welcome, my friend Boston.
There you go.
Hudat.
Oh, it's
another good friend of mine.
Hudat's great. And so I did a I did a scavenger hunt for Heroes Con, and which like people struggled to participate in. And then I did an evening where I was going to just let the audience decide who was going to be the winner. So Hudat came on and showed us all the stuff that his daughter did and what he did, and the audience voted. And the audience voted that she should win the scavenger hunt. So there's a video on his channel of her doing the unboxing, and that was great. But two slabs that I own that I really enjoy are from Hudat's short box sales. So
yes,
thank you to that. He has wonderful stuff for sale. Wonderful.
He does. I bought from him before. He's a good man, a good friend.
He's a great guy, and it was a great video too, watching his daughter's unboxing. And there's going to be a great prize for this August, so remember that. If you haven't done the membership, it's $2.99. It helps support my local food pantry, and I'm trying to help them hit some goals. Moving right along now, we're gonna go to, and I hope you're ready for this one. We're gonna get into some rated or hated. Okay. But also, she was happy to do the video. She likes to do unboxings. Love that. I'm excited. All right. So, are you familiar with my rated or hated?
I believe I am. Yes. Let's do it.
So I always pick up whatever the most recent cover price top 10 rewind list is. So this is from 5 years ago. So at number 10, we're starting with Humberto Ramos, a cover to Strange Academy, number 1. And my screen is taking its sweet time to share. And there we have it. All right.
Okay.
Per the rules, you will decide if we rate it or hate it, and then we score it on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being like, sure, somebody wants this, and a 5 being like, every collector should have one of these in their collection.
I'm going to say we're going to rate it. I'm going to put it at a 3 because the MCU is still kind of up in the air if they're going to actually move forward with this. This is probably going to go in phase 7 or phase 8, whenever they get round to it. But it's going to appeal to a younger audience. I've seen it. I don't have it. I've never read the story, But I think that's not a bad direction that the MCU would go into, getting to the youthful reader.
I am going to agree, but also because there's a ton of first appearances in this book. And also, it's just, see, I justify it as just being a fun title on top of everything else. It's a good read. I tell people go pick up Strange Academy. I agree. I'm also going to go with a 3. All right, moving next into number 9. It's the second printing of Strange Academy, the Francisco Arena cover, which has taken a deep dive, apparently. Do we rate it or hate it?
I'm also going to rate it for the same reason. I like the Doctor Strange, at the very top of the list here. The rest of it, damn it, it was a movie that my daughter and I had seen. It's what do you call that? They did Frankenstein and Dracula and all the rest of it. I can't remember, the name escapes me right now. But that's kind of what this. It's kind of a fun cover. That's what I like about it.
I do like it's a fun cover, and honestly, it's like bargain basement price at this point, right?
Yeah, right.
I am going to give this a 2 though, because it's not first print, and it's like cool to have, but I don't see people really climbing all over themselves to have this.
What bothers me about this is a bit of an aside. The second, third, fourth, fifth printing, and it's still a first appearance of whatever. That was not a thing when I was a kid. Once you got the first appearance, that was it. Everything else was called a reprint. But now you can still get. I won a copy of First Appearance Null, and it's the 4th print. It's still considered the first appearance of that character rather. I don't know. I don't agree with that philosophy, but that's something that the comic market changed, and it seems to be accepted with readers.
Well, I think it's still established it's not first print, right? So there's still that whole, well, it's not the first print. But then there's this whole thing with, oh, but there were so few of the 4th prints that were printed, So,
fine. Okay.
Right. Well, I know I'm with you. I grew up in that same era, and I still have the same mindset. If it's not first print, why do I care?
Right. Yeah.
And now, you'll get first print of a book. The book will be hot, but only one of the 7 covers will be hot, know? Yeah. And it's like, did we care that this was a first appearance, or did we only care it's a first appearance because the person appeared on the cover?
Yeah. The variant, yes, I didn't mean to spill over to this, but the variant covers bother me. It's a gimmick, but it's a gimmick that's been working for some time now, and it's still working. The problem, as you point out here, is that the price of this went down. Most people are going to forget about these things in 5 years. Nobody's going to care about that unless you care about it for whatever reason. You know the artist, or you like the artwork. There's the worry that I have is, growing up in the 70s, you and I saw the comic boom. Things started to explode for comics, especially Marvel. And then they made a mistake and they oversaturated the market in the 90s. And the market almost crashed because they're throwing out too many books. And you can't buy all those books. And the books got more expensive. They went from 25 cents in my day to $4. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to buy, a dozen copies of whatever at $4 a pop. No. So how they're surviving, it's a mystery to me.
Well, now it's the ratios, the variants. It's more like, for instance, like I just refuse to touch personally. I refuse to touch Amazing Spider-Man anymore. Specifically when Tom Brevoort came out and said, yeah, we don't need to have Peter and Mary Jane together. It's our number 1 selling book. But I'm like, it's your number 1 selling book because of all the freaking variants.
Yes,
so
right.
So to me, I will not touch any Amazing Spider-Man from the current volume. I have touched not one of those books.
Yeah.
Look at Boston Chris. I just buy back issues. I hear you, Boston Chris. I hear you. Yeah. But I I still enjoy some new stuff that came out. And speaking of newer stuff, but not too new, because this book is 14 years old at this point, but I still love it. I hope you do too. Ultimate Fallout number 4. It's the first appearance of Miles Morales.
That's the only modern book that I would put some serious money down. I still don't have it yet, but I've been buying other books. My philosophy as Chris just said, I buy back issues because especially Silver, Bronze, and Copper Age, they're still the most desirable. They were the better stories. And when the new writers, new artists came in the mid to late 90s, they lost me. And unfortunately, so I didn't grab one of these copies here. This is a great character, Miles Morales, and the MCU is dragging their damn feet bringing this character on. He should have been brought on a long time ago, but he's I guess he's now going to make a cameo appearance in the next Spider-Man movie. I have no idea.
That's still a rumor, and I am positive the only reason they're dragging their feet on this, and I think part of the reason that they're tanking ASM in a weird way, like Peter can never be with Mary Jane, that sort of thing, I feel it has to do with the arrangement with Sony.
Yeah, it's a money thing. It's a licensing thing. Spider-Man is the most lucrative character because of all the T-shirts and toys and whatever else they have. And if they switch over to Miles Morales, which they kind of have, but he sort of dominates the video game. And I don't. My daughters love that video game with him in it. That may be a part of the hesitation why they haven't brought him in. And by the way, I met the guy. My daughter and I met. My youngest went to the Fan Expo in San Francisco, and the voice actor for this character on the video game was there. He looks like Miles Morales. He obviously sounds like Miles Morales. I said, look, you should just play the character. He is the perfect epitome. He's right physique. Everything about him is perfect. Yeah. The MCU is going to pick somebody else, though, unfortunately. But that's too bad. That was mine.
If they do, but the thing is, they're dragging their feet. One day they'll do it, and when they do, this kid will probably have aged out of the role.
That's the sad part about it.
You know, but I've seen his Instagram and TikTok. He's fantastic. You know, like he really looks like Miles. But yeah, so 4 out of 5. I mean, what did we say?
No, 5 out of 5. If you get a 10, I'd give a 10. But again, you can't beat this cover, and you can't beat this character. So he's the future of Spider-Man.
I'm not going to disagree. 5 out of 5 because he is amazing. No pun intended. All right, next up, I actually have to look up why this is here. All right, 5 years ago, Boom Studios, The Empty Man gained some attention following a mention in the Hollywood Reporter regarding its film premiere. The buzz sparked collector interest, blah, 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 resulting in 11 copies that sold that week and a 585% increase. Raw issues are holding around $5. No sequels have been announced. Rumors of a reboot could potentially rekindle interest in the series. All right, do we rate it or hate it?
I don't want to say I hate it because I know nothing about it. This is the first time I've seen this cover. First time I've seen this character. I know nothing about it, so I hesitate to even make any mention of it.
Well, Phil is a fan, and
hey, Phil.
Hey, Sleepy, how you doing? I don't know how to react. I don't even remember this being a movie. I like Cullen Bunn. So we're not going to hate it. We'll just pass.
Yeah, let's take that. Let's do the cheap way out and just to say let's move on to the next one.
The next one is Catwoman number 23 from 2020. It's the Wu Chul Lee variant. And other than that, is anything special about this? Oh, this issue of Catwoman brought back Snowflame. The person that it gets his powers from cocaine.
Oh, okay. I've heard about that. Okay, that's it. That's an interesting character. Probably Stan Lee would never have produced a character like that. Never, because he would have said back in the old days it would encourage, consumption of cocaine and that sort of thing. This is a gorgeous cover for obvious reasons. Beautiful cover. Not just because of the characters on here. Look at the lighting and the background and the three-dimensional depth that you can see with this. This is a lovely cover. I'll give it a 5. It really is. As far as the story, I have no idea. I haven't read it, so I have no comment on it.
There's some Snowflame for you.
Okay.
Oh my God! Can I zoom in on him?
Wow. Okay. Wow. Okay. This
That
is,
is
yeah,
something else.
this would never have seen the light of day 40 years ago.
Yeah. Although, I feel like older Stan might have given it a go.
Roy Thomas would. Roy Thomas is very much a free spirit. He always has that left wing liberal mindset, but he's fun. He's a smart man, and damn it, I'd love to have a conversation with him. Hey, Lady Fantastic,
Lady F.
love that.
I'm also gonna say 5 for the cover, and I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Okay.
All right. Next up is a personal favorite of mine. I love it just because of what it is. It's the second appearance of John Constantine, but more importantly, it's part of the masterpiece work of Marv Wolfman and George Perez, Crisis on Infinite Earths #4.
Mm.
I feel like you're just not aware.
I'm not totally aware on the Crisis thing, but I do know why they started Crisis was their multiverse, and I forget what they called it, got away from them.
Yeah.
And Marvel is running into that same problem. They're kind of playing with fire unless they sort of bring this in, because the storylines can explode and you lose track of it. Marvel had that back in the day. In fact, they would have meetings because when they expanded in the Bronze Age, they had so many titles, so many characters, and they crossed over with each other quite a bit. That was a beautiful thing about Marvel storyline. This was their way to clean that up for DC. I've never seen this cover. I have the first appearance of this. I'm going to give the cover. Cover's really not thrilling me, to be honest with you. I'd give it maybe 2.5 or a 3. But as far as the storyline, I think they successfully did clean this up. So I'm going to give the story. I'll give the story a 4.
Okay. I'm just going to give it a 4. Actually, no. I'm going to give it a 5 across the board. Because just like Secret War, Secret War should be in your collection, and Crisis on Infinite Earths should be in your collection. They're 2 masterpieces that were doing different things in a similar time, and that's all I have to say. They stand on their own, And where Secret War gives you Black Suit Spider-Man, the Hulk holding up the freaking multi-ton mountain, and Thor battling the Masters of Evil alone, Crisis gave you the death of Flash, the death of Supergirl, the death of a multiverse. So that's my pitch.
I like it.
All right. Next up, it's a Ryan Stegman regular cover to Venom #26, Venom Beyond from 2020. A surge in popularity, remarkable 102% sales. This is the first appearance of Virus. I don't even remember that character.
Yeah.
Do we rate it or hate it?
Boy, I'm going to probably piss off some Venom fans because, again, after the mid-90s, they all lost me. It's just off the top of my head. This seems like that's part of it here. When they introduced Venom back in ASM 300, they were onto something, but it started to morph out of control. I'm going to hate it and just toss it to one side.
And I'm going to second it because I have the fact that this is a first appearance and it used to be a big deal, and I don't even know that the character exists, is rough.
Well, that's 5 years ago, and if that character is not resurfaced, he's going to be a forgotten character.
He could have resurfaced. He's just not memorable,
Yeah.
In the meantime, Boston Chris has thrown it in the trash. I can't disagree. I don't like the cover. All right, next up, #3 spot from 2020. It's Catwoman #23, and it's featuring Catgirl.
Who?
Catgirl. She's like a sidekick to Catwoman.
Okay, this is news to me.
Yeah, news to me too. But I do remember hearing about her. So I'm gonna give them that. But
I'm going to give the cover a 3. It's not a bad cover. It's not a great cover. It's a little. How do you describe this? It's not busy. It's obviously an in nature shot, and I could see this sort of image out in nature. What kind of ruins it for me is, I guess, is that's the moon in the background. It's too bright. So how do you describe that? The imagery is sort of not blotted out, but it's blinded out. So they should have done a better job with the lighting on this one, because the structure of the character, and there's that is that another character? Is that a cat? Is that a Black Panther or something?
That's a Black Panther. That's like her pet panther. You know,
it's all washed out though. It's all washed out by that moon in the background. They should have done something. This could have been a far better cover. But again, even with comics, lighting is a big deal with any imagery. So they unfortunately washed out a lot of their specifics on this particular cover.
You want to know something crazy? Look at the second print cover.
Oh, it's even worse.
Right? It's even worse.
Yeah, no.
Instead of going, oh, we could do some color correction, they made it brighter at nighttime.
No, they washed out the details in the profile, and that's again that just you have to stare at it and then to decipher, all the more detailed images, and you have to strain to do it. If I'm doing that, I'm like, no, just toss it to one side. I'm going to hate on this one. Yeah.
Again, it means nothing to me, so off it goes. The next one has a little meaning to me. It's the first appearance of the Illuminati, and it's New Avengers number 7.
Yeah. This was a great concept because, as I've said in other shows, at some point, and we're seeing this now with the final end. This is phase 6 will be the end of what we started with what they started with rather in phase 1 with Iron Man in 2008, and then they're going to start over again. So you're going to have new characters, youthful characters, and a complete reboot. And that's sort of what I got from this particular New Avengers book. It was hot, super hot at one point. I think it's still worth collecting. If I saw one, I'd grab one. Would I grab a 9.8 at 180? No, what is it now? It's $51. If I saw one, if I saw that for a 9.8, I would stock up on one of those.
Well, you want to know what's really upsetting to me? I saw this in a Raw at a few times at Heroes Con. I saw this at a Raw for $65, $85, and I'm like, do you guys not update your pricing? Are you I know you don't have time, but you're putting this book on your wall. You should keep up, because I had bought 2 copies recently for $12 a piece, which I thought was very reasonable, and I put one of them in a giveaway. But yes, I really like this book. I'm giving it a 3 from me, and that's our number 2 spot, which makes me wonder. Our number 1. And we talked a little bit about something like this earlier. At number 1, it's Venom number 25, second printing. This print experienced a surge in sales of no related reprints because of Venom the Last Dance coming out. And the movie underperformed and didn't boost sales. We all know that story. Do we rate it or hate it?
Just off the top of my head, I'm going to hate it. I'm going to throw it. And the movie didn't help. And regarding anyone putting a Marvel or any comic movie together, you have to have people that read comics and understand what the audience wants. And clearly, Sony doesn't have their act together. They don't have people that are comic savvy. And that Venom movie it could have been a lot better. It could have been an awful lot better. But the story wasn't that great, and the acting was okay. But it's really, you want to root for it. You want to root for the Venom character, but because of the lackluster performances, it's hard to do so.
Yeah. Also, a lot of the movie, he doesn't get to be Venom.
That was a problem.
Yeah, it's got a few issues. So yeah, I didn't hate that movie, but it was not.
It's not something I'm going to rush out and buy.
Yeah, no, I'm never going to buy it. But if it's on, I may watch it.
Right. On a Sunday afternoon when I'm half asleep. That's what I might watch this.
You know, or if I'm like doing dishes, you know, but you know what? But usually if I'm doing dishes and I put something on purposely, you know, I'm gonna put on one of my favorites, and it's gonna be like Spider-Man Homecoming or Winter Soldier or Black Panther, like where I'm just excited to have it on the background, and you hear one of your favorite parts, and you come out of doing whatever it is you're doing, again, washing the dishes. I know, but that's a thing for me. Well, actually, lately it's been the bathroom, but still, come running out and be like, "Oh, I love this part," and then you go back to what you were doing. Yeah. All right. So for everybody, that's the end of. So now, Dan, I put you back in the place of honor because it's time to demonstrate your homework to everybody. It's the 5-finger shuffle.
All right, today on the 5-finger shuffle, there's going to be a theme. You'll figure it out very, very quickly. I've got 5 comics here that I want to profile, and you'll see why I'm bringing these out here. And let me do a little preface. Before there was CGC and the slab market and all that, if you're a comic collector, you had something like this. It's the Overstreet Price Guide. This is the 25th anniversary of the Fantastic Four, and that was the celebration here in issue 16. And what you would do if you read one of these, you would find something like this. I saved it here. And it's The Secrets to Comic Restoration. Now, back in those days, what happened was, as comics started to get older, there was no CGC, there was no slab market, whatever, and the comics were getting older. And Mylar was kind of relatively new, and all you had were the polyethylene bags and all that. But even I thought that, you know, the comics are just paper. They're one of the most fragile things we have out there, and they're not going to last forever. Now, of course, technology has gotten better, and the CGC did start with a brilliant idea of encapsulating the comic, preserving it, and then grading it and making notations regarding what its value was, first appearances, and that sort of thing. But as we grew to trust CGC, we also grew to accept whatever they said. And therein lies the problem, because as I've just profiled, back in the late 80s, I remember there was a huge market of restoration of comics, and you had to find the best people to restore them. People respected that. They appreciated it. In fact, the value of the comic actually went up. But now, since when CGC started introducing this, the purple label, the comic goes down. It somehow reversed. People thought that this was something that is lesser value. Something's wrong with it. It isn't pristine or whatever. In this particular case here, I'll just rattle them off one at a time here. This is first appearance of Hercules. It's a 4.5 white pages, and you can see what it says here. If I can get the in focus. Restoration includes a small amount of color touch-up on the color. Now, on the cover, rather. I work with colors all day. That's what I do for a living. I work on cabinets and furniture and all the rest of it. I'm a chemical coatings applicant, have been for 50 years. I recognize color better than most people. I look and strain my eyes. I can't find anywhere where the color is on the cover. I can't find any touch-up, but they have special equipment and so forth. So they gave this a purple label. I paid $135 for this. This same comic in the same grade that's a blue label is 3 times this much. So my point is that what are you willing to accept in your collection? Do you accept the old definition, which I do because I grew up with that, or do you accept what CGC has done? Over the years, CGC has gone in a different direction. I'm not going to get into that today. But I have no problem having this in my collection, because if you're a collector on a budget like I am, and you want to have as many grails as you can, this is a really, really great way to do it. And also, in some of these, in this case, you can have that professionally removed. Now, does this comic justify it? Probably not. But there's other comics that I'll show you that might justify it. Here's one here. Here's a beautiful Golden Age, same exact thing. This is Captain Marvel number 68 from 1946. A beautiful comic, an absolutely gorgeous comic. And it says off-white pages, but it seems like it's white pages. It is beautiful. And the same thing, small amount of color touch-up. But look at that. This is C.C. Beck at his best with the profile cover here. I got this for about the same price. I got this from some guy who sold this in Britain for about $125. That comic is roughly about $600 to $700 off the top of my head. Here's one of my better examples of this. Now, this is something too you have to accept that this is something you want in your collection. But who wouldn't want to have this particular comic, Fantastic Four number 12?
Ooh,
And it presents beautifully well. This presents beautifully well. This is their second generation slab, I think. They gave it an apparent 1.5. There's tape all over it, but they said it's been trimmed. Now, that's sort of the death knell for some people. Some people have a real problem if a comic is trimmed. But again, this is older than I am. And I want this preserved. If the trimming saved it, or if it was, you've got tattered edges and so forth, I personally don't care. But again, I got this for $300. Copies that are just trashed to hell or 4 times that much. But if you don't mind having that purple label, and if you don't mind the ridicule that you get, and we shouldn't be ridiculing these purple labels, we should be accepting them as they are. So I got 2 more here. And again, this is something I've accepted in my collection, something that I wanted, and I got it for a fraction of the price. Avengers 4. Woo! Signed by Stan Lee. Anyone who knows Stan Lee's signature knows that is a Stan Lee signature. So this is a CBCS case, and this is the top's been trimmed or the bottom's been trimmed. I forget what it was. So I got this for a fourth the price. It was another Avengers 4, same 4.0 grade that my comic shop was selling, and they wanted $2,800 for it. I paid $650 for this one. Wow. It's still an Avengers 4. It has been certified and all the rest of it. Does anybody care? I don't care. I saved a fortune in this, and I'm happy to take this and put it in my collection and say that it's there, and I'm near completion in my Avengers run. I'm trying to get Avengers 1 through 100, and I've got most of the keys right now. So I just need a few more. And here's the last one I'll show you today, and it's Avengers number 1. Ooh. And this I paid. There's a little story behind this. This was on sale at eBay. Somebody was selling it. They said it's got tape all over it, whatever. And they want $775 for it. And I didn't have the money at the time. One of my customers owed me money, and he hadn't paid up yet. And I thought, damn it. Because when you buy from eBay, you have 48 hours to send the money. And by the time I got the money, he was gone. I'm like, oh, shit. That hurt. That hurt a lot. Well, some guy who bought the same comic flipped it over. And he said, well, you can have it for just under $1,000. I said, I'll do it. It cost me another couple $100, but I have a genuine certified Avengers 1 in my collection. Now, this is an EGS grade. A quick note on EGS. I love EGS. I get a lot of ridicule from EGS grading, but you know what? They're reliable. CGC has gone in a very different direction. I don't trust them. I'm not going to send something like this to them. Who knows? Who that is in our chat? It was CBCS. That was CBCS. They lost his X-Men 1. He was beside himself that they made it good, but he lost faith. He was a solid CBCS customer, and now he says, "I'm not going anymore." He's going strictly to CGC.
I have a lot of feelings and a lot of comments on these companies, right?
Yeah.
But I will tell you this from my experience. From my experience, I've done newer stuff with CBCS. They've been very good to me, and I find their slab very strong, right? Good quality slab, right? Very excellent quality slab.
I hate their label, by the way. I don't like their new label. Some people love it.
New label?
No, I do not like that label.
I love the new label with the arrow.
A lot of people do. I'm a holdout. No, I like their older label, and I've had their third gen. Their slab is dynamite. It's a solid slab. The label looks like something from the '60s.
But it feels like something, and I love that. And I'm grabbing the wrong thing. But anyhow, I love it because even with that 60s vibe, right? Oh, look at who that is already like F them. Well, yeah, F them. But I know what they did to you, so I get it. But I would not give them, after what happened to him, I wouldn't give them something like that. I would give them something like this, right?
Yeah.
Now, as far as CGC, there's a particular choice of grading that you can pick that will guarantee you that their best men are going to look at the book. And I learned that trick from Rob Fatstacks. So if there's something I feel particularly special about, then I'll pay the little bit extra and do it that way and know that I'm going to get like a serious grade. And especially if I think I have a really a really a really juicy book on my hands, right? But outside of that, the loosey goosey, let me send it in for $24. Yeah, you're rolling the dice,
right. But back to the original point, though. Again, these restored grade comics, I grew up with them. I had no problem with them. And again, for someone on a budget, and I'm very much on a budget, I can't pay $3,000-4,000 for a comic. That's a rarity. I've done it once or twice. I can't do it anymore because again, I'm focusing more on my retirement and all the rest of it. But who would not want to have this in your collection? Who would want to have this in your collection? Would you say no? Saying, "Oh, it's beneath me. I don't want this." No, the hell with it. I've got an Avengers 1. It's been graded, certified, and I like the slab with EGS. You can have some fun with them, but I count on what they do. But my main point is that we are so programmed by accepting the CGC label. We've now also accepted the mindset that this is not worth keeping. People have sold them for a fraction of the cost just to get them out of their collection. But that's not how it was back in the day. When you were a kid back in the 70s and 80s, when you left your house to go to the comic store or buy a private collection or whatever, you took this with you. This was your Bible. This was the only thing because remember, there's no internet back in those days. All you had was text regarding the price and anything else about this. And also the respect of restored grade. It was accepted because you wanted to preserve these. Even with these slabs, they won't last forever. Nothing will last forever. But I want everyone, if you hear anything I say today on this broadcast, that reconsider or take a second look at the restored, or even the green labels. You know, that when you have a Hulk 180 or 181 and that value stamp is out, suddenly it's a green label. Why? That was Stan Lee. He put that in there for a reason. Maybe it wasn't his best idea, but that was to promote it was a transition from 20 cents to 25 cents. So they wanted to, give you some incentive to pay a fifth more to get the comic. I don't think that should be. I wouldn't have a problem with if 180, 181 had the value stamp in it. It's the comic and the story and the first appearance and whatever that you have. So reconsider, take a second look at the restored labels. I would think, A, if you're on a budget, you can get it for a great deal. And 2, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with most of these. Again, the restoration is minor at best. And if you had to, get the minor color touch up or whatever restored if the value justifies it. But would you say no to a purple label? Let's say, and one just sold at San Diego Comic-Con, an Action Comics #1. Would you say no to that because it's got a purple label? Would you be embarrassed to show this to your friends? You have an Action Comics #1, or was it Superman 1, whatever it was? I
would like you to look at my wall. Do you see that Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man #1?
I do.
It's a purple label.
Nice.
So I have no shame, and I just got a major key. And it's in one of those boxes, and I wasn't going to open all the boxes tonight, but you're kind of inspiring me to. So I think I'm going to go get it.
Let's do it. Okay, so now you're leaving. It's now my show, so I get to run it the way I want here. You have an impressive collection on your wall. I did notice some of the things you have up there. That's very, very cool. Hey, by the way, do you worry about light and all that on the covers? I'm terrified of any light.
Yeah, I am terrified of light, but this is like normal light. These lights are only on when I'm here.
Okay, got it.
And then sunlight does come through, and that does scare me. But as you said, nothing lasts forever.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to give these to my kids when I pass on. That would be
right.
That's a.
In the meantime, almost no one in my family cares, and in fact, all they've discussed when they were planning the day that I'm no longer on this planet was, well, they have some value, no value to us, but there is some value, and I was like, awesome. So the first box I opened is the right one.
Nice.
And I know since you're not a big DC fan that
I am. Don't discount that. I love DC.
No, I'm pretty sure you can't possibly guess what this is just by the silhouette alone.
No, I cannot.
Right. So, and by the way, I only realized what kind of key this was sometime last year. And then I was like, oh my God, I would never have guessed that this book featured all these first appearances and that they were Superboy stories, you know? But I guess it really made sense. So this is Adventure Comics. And I got it for only $200. Talk about people not appreciating the purple label. It's Adventure Comics 283. It is the first appearance of the Phantom Zone, first appearance of General Zod and Dr. Zadu.
Oh, no kidding.
And the last Kongorilla backup story.
Wow. What year did that come out?
61.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Right?
That is gorgeous.
And again, a fraction of the price that it was going for in a blue label.
There you go. So that's the thing. I would die to have that. You know, any one of these. I've saved thousands of dollars just with these 5 that I profiled here. And I'm working on another one, by the way. I haven't secured it yet, so I shouldn't say. But it's a comic I had a long time ago. And it's, anyway, I'll show it to you when I finally get it. But it's restored label.
Ooh, but I gotta tell you, this is one of the stronger CGC slabs I've received, coincidentally. But it looks so good, and 200 for General Zod's first appearance.
Oh, you can't beat that. You can't beat it at all.
Yeah, so
congratulations. I'd love to have that.
Yeah. So, and I was really going at it. There was one, the blue label 4.5 was going for like $390, and I sent that guy 2 offers, and he rejected both offers. Mm-hmm. And I sent this guy the one offer of 200, and it took him 18 hours to respond to me, but he did it. So, hurrah. But I've knocked off some big Superman keys this year for my year of Superman. But at the same time, I get Submariner, so I can knock off a little stuff, some stuff that I was working on last year.
That's fantastic. It really is. But see, this is why I collect. It brings back my childhood, like many people want to celebrate and hold on to their childhood. But it makes me happy. It's hard to describe how happy I am to have these in my collection. First appearance of that, first whatever. And so it's a collection that's growing. I'll still be buying, but I won't be buying like, you know, again, this took a ton out of me financially. So I'm still recovering from this. But yeah, so I'm going to pace myself moving forward.
But that is like, that one I would say is worth it, you know? And I'll tell you a sad story. There was a very well-priced Supergirl's first appearance, and I had hit a little payload, and I had my little payload, and I was ready, and someone snatched it up. And I could not find another good deal on her first appearance, and it broke my heart. But that money, I took my trip to Canada. I visited friends. I bought some books in Canada at a fraction of the price. I have a little bit of money left over for Heroes Con, and I did battle on eBay and got 4 good deals on like 5 books that I wanted to add to my collection.
I'll show you that real quick. I didn't mean to bring this up, but I'll bring it up now. The best deal I ever made it happened about, it was a Thanksgiving evening about 3-4 years ago. And it's right here. Yeah, I just happened to be, well, long story, but where are you? No. There you are. Okay. This is my firebox. I'm going to be very careful with this. For those who don't know, we were talking backstage, and you know what, we're still considered a fire zone in Sonoma County. So if a fire ever happens, I'm going to run to this room, grab that box, and tell my wife, you know, you're on your own. So anyway,
run.
Yeah, you'll make it. Just run faster. anyway, this was an eBay purchase. I'd been in the market for one of these, and there were two that I looked at. One was a 1.8. It was a gorgeously presenting cover, but it was a chip in the back of it, pretty significant. Jeff White was down to a 1.8. But then I saw this one here, and with this the guy wanted 4,500 for it. Actually, both men wanted 4,500 for theirs. And on eBay, you have three chances for a buy it now situation. You submit a bid, and just word of advice: don't waste their time. Don't throw out a dollar bid or whatever, because you only got three shots, and you could piss them off. They say, just stop wasting my time. So I threw out 3,500 with my first bid. He came back to me with 4,100, and then I bid again. I said, well, how about 3,700? And he said, well, how about 3,850? And that was a price point that I could afford. I couldn't afford the 4,500. But he came down $650 in two bids, and back and forth bids. That rarely happens for a deep blue grail like this. What he wanted was a second print of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1. So he used that money to get one. So he got what he wanted. I got what I wanted. This is a book I probably will never get rid of because I can't afford it. I mean, I don't know, what are they, 7,000 maybe. Again, it's only 2.0, but it is the first appearance and it's totally complete. Not a purple label, but this is the best comic I have. But also, it's the best deal I've ever made. Who does that? Who brings down almost $700 in two bids to do this? Most people who have these say, "Look, this is the price. Take it or leave it." This guy wanted to move this, and that is a rare thing to negotiate with something like that. And if he wasn't, I would never have gotten it had he not wanted something else in return. But that's the best purchase I ever made.
Well, that was an improper whistle, but you get it. I'm like, that is impressive. Submariner. I want to find you the other Submariner I was looking at.
That's an underrated series, by the way. Sal Buscema and was it Roy Thomas that did a lot of those stories, or Steve Englehart did those? But those are underrated. Issue 8 against the Thing, as you profiled the first Pre-Defender stories. And what else was the Death of Lady Dorma in issue 37? There's a few others that they're escaping for whatever reason. But those are fun stories.
Yeah, no. So the Pre-Defenders, I have two of the Pre-Defenders behind me, and I'm missing the last issue of Doctor Strange, then the issue where he appears with Submariner, and I'm missing the Hulk issue where he fights the Nightcrawler, which is absolutely not the furry blue elf that we love from X-Men.
Right. That was issue 22. That was also a Pre-Defender story where he's got the Submariner and he's looking for an idol called the not the ancient one. What was it called? The Nameless Ones. That was the beginnings of the Defender story. They're fun, great reads, and again, I have a deep love for the Defenders. Roy Thomas and Steve Englehart just were fantastic.
And then what blows my mind is we discover that in the backup story of Marvel Feature, because Doctor Strange has just returned from the dead, period, right?
Yes, right.
And we discover in the backup story that his return is ominous, and he goes home to the Sanctum Sanctorum only to find out who's this other Doctor Strange, and they do battle, and when the mask comes off, it's Baron Mordo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, why do I know this?
Those again, there are so many underrated, not just keys, just great reads to have. And there's a lot of Stan Lee stories that people have never touched, with the Strange Tales and the Tales to Suspense and Tales to Astonish and so forth. And they were always beat to death, or it was hard to find those in good condition. But again, there's a lot of great reading. I put the majority of my money, if I'm going to spend money, I want to have something that I love. So I'm going to spend money on Silver Age, Bronze Age, Copper Age. One, I'm going to enjoy the story, guaranteed for the most part, with rare exception. There's a couple writers I didn't care for. Steve Gerber is one of them. He was not a bad writer, but he never should have been a comic writer. But there's thousands and thousands of these books, and they're waiting for to be read. And the rest of my life, I'll be reading comics. So that's I'm lots and lots of enjoyment. The best stories were Stan Lee. No one could tell a story like him, and it's very detailed. But you contrast that with the comics today. it's mostly imagery with maybe somebody saying something, one little line, and that's about it. It's no different than Hollywood. Hollywood is focused in on special effects, not actual storyline.
Sad, but sometimes true. Although I am happy when the tables turn, because Superman and Fantastic Four were both good films. Like, obviously, I feel very strongly about Superman, but maybe there's some bias there. But I enjoyed Fantastic Four as well.
Well, think about this though. Now, again, I was a huge cynic of James Gunn. Now I'm a huge fan. I think he's completely the right person for the job to unlock the DCU, which he has. And I could just tell by this one movie, he knows what he's doing. So we're in good hands. So that means the DC universe is finally opened up. Marvel seems to be back on the right track with the Fantastic Four movie, and the underrated movie was they became the Avengers. Thunderbolts.
Yes,
Thunderbolts was a great movie. They didn't have any big stars in there, but that was a great fun movie, and it's a connection to the upcoming Avengers movie. So they're on track. I mention this because this is the first time ever that both the MCU and the DCU are on track. So the sky's the limit with collecting. And if you're one of those people that flips, and there's nothing wrong with flipping comics, because that's how I bought some of these, by someone taking the time and their own money to buy and then sell them to me. There's nothing wrong with that. So we're as a collector, this is a great time to be a collector of comics.
It is. It's a good time. And now I'm looking at a bunch of restored books thanks to you. including one that's on my list, and it's in a 7.0. So the temptation is ferocious.
I'll tell you the book I'm looking at, and I'm talking to Comic Ozzy about. He works with me. We're good friends, and it's a ASM 50 First Kingpin. It's a 6.0 white pages. It's a gorgeous book, and he said he bought it raw, and there's a little bit of somebody did some touch up on the inside cover or whatever. That could be corrected, but I don't care. He's selling it for a very, very fair price, and I'm going to get my hands on it, assuming it's still there. But again, it depends on what you want, and also what you do as a collector. I'm not a seller. I simply buy. The pile keeps growing behind me. This little mountain here. I could probably start my own little comic shop, but I don't care that I'm not going to make any money on it. If I send my Avengers 1 to EGS, and if someday I sell it, I'm going to sell it for whatever I want. But I don't care. I don't think along the lines of how much money I could make for it. The problem I have with a lot of these YouTube commentary shows is they focus too much on money. And if you're into that, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we should be focused in on the comic. That's why we all came together in the first place. And so that your show doesn't over focus on it. You talk a little bit about money, but you talk about the comic. And that's what I like about your show.
Yeah. No, and that's what I want that's what I'm drawn to in this community, and what I want from this community is like, why are we buying it? Why do we care? So I look at many top 10 lists and I go, this is ridiculous. And I'm like, and why did we forget these legendary stories? There are books, there's storylines from my youth that were like legendary, and like you had to, if you missed out, it was like, well, now it's $20 now it's $20 on the shelf, Yeah. And so, and now those books are like, half of them I find in dollar bins,
Well, those are those mostly modern comics?
But they're 90s,
Okay,
so
that's
like,
modern.
Yeah, but when I was a kid, if you missed your moment, it became a $10-$20 book,
right.
And that was like a whole thing. And I loved some of those stories, and some people still cherish them, but you can find most of it in dollar bins. And I go, why are we? And then we'll celebrate stuff because of a first appearance, or now we're going to celebrate it because it's a beautiful cover. And I'm like, okay, we all can collect for various reasons. But yes, I don't care for all these people hyper focused on value. And lately, that same group of people, they're all hyper focused on PSA. And I have friends who've been collecting graded Pokemon cards and baseball cards and stuff for years, and they've all had issues with that company identical to issues that we've had with CGC. So I'm like, okay, like, enjoy your first few slabs now, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do what CGC did. And CGC has done a few things very well. The current state of their grading, I'm absolutely not going to defend, nor am I going to defend the whole banana gate, right? But I will say the community that most of the community that they created with their registry is cool, but there are some weirdo bullies on there. So I can't apologize for that. And I'm sure they don't have enough control over that, but there are some weirdo bullies on there. But I love that the registry does have there are good people in that community. The registry is fun and addictive, which of course is what they want, but it is fun and addictive to putting your stuff. Unfortunately, they're just another big business, and I get it and whatever. I mean, like, I miss the days where it was Scott and what's his face. The early days of CGC were the best. Right.
They had a fabulous idea, and I love the first. Well, I remember the first slab I got. I'm thinking, wow, this is pretty cool. It's encapsulated, presents really well. So they clearly had a wonderful idea, and they built their trust. They focusing on quality. In fact, this is one I was going to show, but now I'll show it now. And that's this green restored label. This is Hills Just Under 64, and it's an early appearance of the leader, and it's got a green label on it, and it says there's a page missing. Now, when I restarted my collection about 10 years ago, I didn't know what anything was, including slabs or green labels, purple, whatever. Now, what happened with this one is I have a raw copy of this, and it says page 3 is missing, and it doesn't, but it doesn't affect the story. Well, the raw copy says differently. If page 3 was missing, it would affect the story, so this is wrong. Certified Guaranteed Company was named that because they built a lot of trust. If what was on the label was in the slab, they put a lot of effort into making this right. About 5 years ago or so, I called CGC. I said, hey, this is wrong. And I told her what I just told all of you. And the lady was kind of like, no, yeah, send it back. We'll do it for free. We'll make this correct, and we'll get it right. Those were back in the days when they cared about their quality. They cared about what they produced, because they didn't want to have a mistake out into the wild where people could make fun of it and they would lose trust. Now they don't give a shit about it. Well, they care less about it.
Again, you have to now, and this is annoying, and I'm not defending them. You have to find the right person to talk to at CGC, and that's really annoying because that's not the way it should be.
Right.
And in fact, something I complained about, and this is the thing, right? So I'm talking with people, who are more experienced and on YouTube and whatever. And I was complaining that I sent multiple copies of the first appearance of Kid Venom. And I wrote a note that I included in the box. When I submit it online, there's a comment section for your submission. And I wrote in the comments, right? Completely ignored, got the books back. No wording whatsoever on the label, back or front, about the first appearance of Kid Venom. And it really annoyed me. And the first time anyone talked to me about correcting it was I can't remember the guy's name at CGC, but you've seen him in videos and whatever. And he was like, oh my God, absolutely, I'll take care of it. And I was like, honestly, at this point, I don't care. It's an annoyance, and I wanted to bring it to your attention.
Well, here's the thing I was on other shows, and when this happened, and they all had breaking news and so forth. It was on Ian Hoodrat's show, a good friend of mine. And I said, look, the problems all seem to have started with this company that had built up their reputation, built up a solid company. And then another company gobbled it up called Blackstone. Blackstone is a hedge fund company. And they look for opportunities for companies that they can make a ton of money. They buy them out, they rearrange things, and they force as much money as possible. Then when that's all done, they throw the company away. They throw out the dried out husk, if you will, because they're not making money anymore. That's all they care about is money. They don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about your comic collection. They care about anything about your hobby. They care about how much money they're going to send you. Now, you mentioned the Banana Gate thing. The slab here, it's a polymer. I don't know exactly what polymer, but I work with polymers all day. That's my job. There's a certain process when you apply these things. I'm a chemical coatings applicant. You have to allow drawing time. You have to do this in the right conditions. You can't be too cold or too hot. And that explains why I think they're rushing the process. So what they're doing, I'm not going to do it, but the comic starts to bend because as it starts to dry, the polymer goes this way. The inner well probably is going up, and it's taking the comic with it. So there's no way in hell I'd send in my comics with a process that is being rushed. That's just a telltale sign that they are moving as fast as possible with these employees. They gave up quality. The establishment of quality happened when the company formed. Now that the company is formed, this bigger company took it over and said, we're going to speed this whole thing up, get as much money out of it as possible. They would not have spent $500 million by buying out the majority shares of CGC. That's a tremendous amount of money. They're going to expect a return. And it's been about 3 years now. They're probably going to at least double or triple that return. So that means you and I are paying for that. So if you send your money to CGC, you're not sending it to the company that used to be reliable. You're sending it to a gigantic mega conglomerate who doesn't give two shits about you or anything about your life. All they care about, did the check clear, or did you use your credit? Do you have enough room on your credit card? Whatever. I don't care how you pay for it. But it's all changed. That's why I gravitated towards EGS. It's a small company like me. You can count on the quality. He's doing the best he can with what he's got. But Tony Trombetta has taken on CGC directly, and he's put his own money, his own livelihood on the line. And I'm not supporting because I'm a nice guy. I like him. I like his product. I really do. So he's won me over. CGC, no way in hell. As long as Blackstone is pulling the strings on that company, I'm not going to send one dime to that company.
I was going to say, and isn't there another hedge fund that owns CBCS right now?
There's several out there, and these are big players on Wall Street. Again, Blackstone, they're over $1 trillion with network, and you have BlackRock, which is, people mistake the two companies. They're two separate companies. They're about $10 trillion of net worth. And again, they're a hardcore, what's the phrase? Cutthroat organization. Their only job is to make more money. That's why people invest in them, because they're good at making money, but they're heartless regarding how they do it. They don't care about the person or the company they're destroying, and they throw away the company and everyone is laid off, whatever. They made their money. That was their only purpose in life. And currently we're beholden to them. That's what's going on with CGC. People refuse to recognize it because if you're a buyer and seller, you have to go to CGC. It used to be CBCS. Now PSA is entered the market. I think I'm not necessarily rooting for PSA, but I'm a free capitalist person. You have to have competition. If you rely on one company and one company alone for your products or services, what happens to that company if it goes under or if it takes a wrong turn? You're now beholden and stuck with that company. PSA is a fresh perspective here. I wish them well. I don't care about, I have no skin in the game over either company, but there's got to be competition, and PSA looks like it's it.
I mean, they are it. I'm just not thrilled. But I mean, on the other hand, currently, no one's looking at the horrors of their reputation, and and they have a really strong slab. So everybody who has beef with CGC and CBCS, it's a lovely alternative. Again, I don't know who they're owned by, and what you were saying, Blackstone, right? Like
Blackstone.
They also own that insurance company where the CEO was dismissed from the living realm. So it's not like they're not a crown jewel in my eyes.
Well, again, that's the corporate world. That's why people hate the corporate world, because it's heartless. It's all about survival. It's survival of the fittest. And as an older person, people don't understand the value of money. Why people who have billions of dollars, and you ask them, well, don't you have enough money? Is that can you spend it all? That you're looking at it differently. A person with $1 million of free income, that person has some freedom. But a person with $1 billion has a lot more freedom. That person can now start to change your whole community. And someone with $1 trillion or more, that person can change a society. And that's what they're after. It's a very deep cutthroat world, because you look at the companies that have gone under over the years. You had AIG and what was it? With the other company. Damn it! Why my memory's going as I get under. The federal government backed AIG and Lehman Brothers. That was the other one, the hedge fund company. Lehman Brothers went under. It wasn't backed by the government, but AIG was. And Lehman Brothers was probably crying foul, saying, "This is bullshit. You're helping this guy over here, but you're not helping us. We're in the same dilemma." Well, there was a lot of back rubbing and all the rest of it. That's how government works. So it's an ugly world. It's a very ugly world. And now that it's come into a hobby that I love, and I'm speaking out against it, and the only thing I can do is not participate in giving him any money. I chose a smaller company. I'm happy with this company, and I'm sticking with this company. Talking about EGS.
In the meantime, I'm struggling to give them any new money. But I'm happy to pick up stuff that's already slept.
Yeah, that's somebody else's problem, right? It's like, if you hate big oil, that's drilling's happening in the Middle East. They're doing whatever, they're polluting their world. That they don't give a shit about that area, but not in our backyard, that kind of thing. So I don't want to get into politics. That's why I got into comics. Even I, as a political expert, politics was so bad. Even I couldn't stomach it anymore. So I came to the comic world. So that's why I'm here. And I fell in love with the comic community. Great people like yourself, and you got BC, you got Newbie and Hoodat and Boston Chris, and there's countless others. And it's just a fun and wonderful place to commute and talk to people. I love talking about comics. That's why I came on your show. I could talk for days about comic books.
It's so funny. I don't know if you know Old Wolf Tony, but I was shopping for comics with him at Terrificon last year for about maybe an hour, right?
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. It was just so much fun, like going through the bins with a buddy and be like, "Oh, are you looking for this?" Like that sort of thing. And "Oh, look what I found." "Oh, look what I found." And
right.
"Oh, are you looking for this?" Right. It's just really cool. And
See,
there's something about that, right? That's the community part about the love of this experience.
I went to San Diego Comic-Con last year. I was a guest speaker, but I had fun digging through the bins and all that. And there were two other men that were roughly my age, and we just looked at each other. We were talking the whole time while we're digging. That was the best time. I'm going to go again next year for that same reason. I'm going to go just for one day, dig and get as many comics as I can and fly out. But that's the experience, that the fun and the camaraderie we have, and you meet new people that are just wonderful. So again, this is one of the best times of my life. It just is. And by the way, I'm gonna have to wind this down. My wife she's home,
no, that's
so
okay.
we were supposed to head out.
That was a beautiful way to wind this down. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, make sure you've subscribed. Remember, I'm doing a big giveaway for August, so if you'd like to, it's gonna support my local food pantry. I very much appreciate it. And Dan, you're a fabulous guest. Thank you for being here. I hope I'll have you back for the. We'll do a rematch.
I would be honored. I'd love to come back. This is a lot of fun. I look forward to doing this again.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Everybody have a great night. Enjoy your weekends. I'll be all over the internet this weekend, as will Dan. Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.